بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا ونور قلوبنا وقرة أعيننا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. نوينا تعلما وتعليم وتذكرا وتذكر والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم، ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير، ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى، مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدني وانشر صافي الهني يا وهاب يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، والحمد لله رب العالمين. يا حبابتي يا سيدي يا فاطمة يا بنت رسول الله، صلاة الله وسلامه ويتملك وعلى أبيك وأمك وعليك وعلى زوجك وعلى ابنك وعلى من والاكم لله. يا حبابتي يا سيدي يا فاطمة بنت رسول الله، صلاة الله وسلامه ويتملك وعلى أبيك وأمك وعليك وعلى زوجك وعلى ابنك وعلى من والاكم لله. يا حبابتي يا سيدي يا فاطمة يا بنت رسول الله، صلاة الله وسلامه الأتمنى من على أبيك وأمك وعليك وعلى زوجك وابنك وعلى من والاكم لله، في كل لحظة أبدا عدد خلقي ورضا نفسي وزنة عرشي ومداد كلماتي. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Right, we are on the second chapter, right, of the book, on the necklace of pearls, right. So for Fridays and Saturdays, right, it's necklace of pearls. Then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right, will be a book of assistance, right. So inshallah, okay, I'll read through I'll read through, right, the chapter first, and I'll explain it. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Min Kitab Igdullul, right, from the book The Necklace of Pearls. التأليف السيد Muhammad bin Hassan bin Ali al-Haddad. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on his soul, rahimahullah ta'ala, wa nafa'ana Allahu bihi wa bi'ulumihi. May Allah have mercy on his soul and benefit us by him and by his knowledge in both abodes. Inshallah, today he has said, Al-Faslu Thani fi wiladatiha wa nash'atiha radiyallahu anha. ولدت سيدتنا فاطمة عليها السلام في بلد الله الحرام قبل البعثة ب5 أعوام، وكان ميلاد هذه النبتة الطاهرة ل20 من جماد الآخرة. ففي يوم الجمعة الأزهر سطع وجهها الأنور، فالحمد لله وسبحان الله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. وسماها أبوها فاطمة لأن الله فطمها من النار الحاطمة. ومن أسمائها المباركة والزكية والراضية والمرضية. وتسمى الزهراء لأنها زهرة أفضل الخلق بلا مراء. ولقبت بالبتول لانقطاعها للعبادة فيما تفعل وتقول. وكناها الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم بأم أبيها لما كان يجد عندها من حنان وعطف أودع فيها. نشأت في بيت النبوة معدن العلم والشرف والفتوة، حيث يغدو رسول الله ويروح وتنازل الملائكة والروح. نشأت في ذلك البيت الفاضل على أفضل الأخلاق وأحسن الشمائل، وكيف لا تكون كذلك وهي خريجة مدرسة أفضل الخلق على الإطلاق، الذي بعثه الله متمما لمكارم الأخلاق. فمنه تعلمت الصدق والأمانة والعفة والصيانة. تعلمت منه القرآن والحكمة والرأفة والرحمة والتواضع والعلم والصبر والحلم. طبعت على أخلاق رضية وشمائل نبوية وأخلاق محمدية أولاها ربها من الخيرات ما أولاها، فرضي الله عنها وأرضاها. رضي الله عن فاطمة الزهراء وأرضاها، وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله أزكى صلاة وأنماها. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله. Alhamdulillah. On the second chapter 2, right, about her birth and her upbringing, radiyallahu anha wa ardaha. So it is said that Sayyidah Fatima az-Zahra alayha salam, and you can say alayhi salam on the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It was something that Imam Bukhari used to do. Right, so Imam Bukhari, so if someone would think, really the Shias do that, right? Saying alayhi salam onto the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In fact, the Imams used to do it. Right, so the Imam Bukhari and other Imams, they used to do it. So Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we can also do it. Right, so it's okay, right, to say alayhi salam, right, even though it is meant for prophets, right, but the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yes, right, it is permissible, you can do it. Whereas the other companions, we say radiyallahu anhum wa ardahum. Right, for Sayyidina Ali specifically, we say karamallahu wajha. Right, so karamallahu wajha is specific Sayyidina Ali. Right, they say reason of that for that is because Sayyidina Ali never in his life did he bow to an idol. It's one of the reasons. Second reason is they say that he has never ever seen his own privates, and not that of anybody else. So mashallah. So you say karamallahu wajha, it means may Allah ennoble his face. So Allah Alam, mashallah. I personally don't know the source of why Sayyidina Ali people say karamallahu wajha, but it's only specifically for him, Sayyidina Ali. Right, but I know the reason why they say it, but I'm not sure about the source of where it came from. But for the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, they would say it for Sayyidah Khadija also alayha salam. Sayyidah Khadija also gets alayha salam. Sayyidah Fatima, Sayyidina Al-Hasan Al-Hussein, right, the Ahlul Bayt, right, they have something that is distinguished, right, for them alayha salam. Of course, in no way or form indicating that they are prophets, of course. Right, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the final prophet. Right, so when we speak about, and this thing about loving Sayyidah Fatima Zahra and loving the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is compulsory on every believer, right? And it's something that the Sunnis, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, it could be that people miss out on this, because they're so like all the Shia love the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No, the Sunnis as well, right? In fact, it's wajib. Right? It's wajib to love the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to feel for the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is something that the Sunnis might lose out on, right? Because they would say these people or they have this aversion, right? Like a rejection of loving the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and exalting them. And we spoke about it previously, of the importance of placing the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam high in esteem, right? To raise them. Mashallah, it is from the iman of a person, right, that you love the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and first and foremost Sayyidah Fatima az-Zahra. Now, right, so she was born, Sayyidah Fatima az-Zahra, fi balillahi al-haram, meaning in the haram of Mecca, and the haram here meaning sanctuary, right, in the sacred sanctuary of Mecca. And she was born on the most agreed upon opinion 5 years before Bi'atha. Bi'atha meaning the revelation. So she was 5 years old when her father became a prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was raised to be a prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, so she was born 5 years before revelation. And in fact, the day whereby she was born, it was a well-known day, right? So and there is a difference of opinion whether it was on the same day or the same year. The same year is known, but same day, there are scholars who say it happened on the same day. So the day that she was born was basically the day they finished the building of the Kaaba. because they were rebuilding the Kaaba, right? In that particular year, right, there was a push for the rebuilding of the Kaaba, right? So the story goes, right, is that the Kaaba they had with them, right, was a Kaaba from the time of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. Right, so Nabi Ibrahim, was like you say thousands of years before Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, so the Kaaba that they had, right, was said to be from the time of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. Right, and what had happened was that there was a fire that happened, then there was a flood that happened, and like things happened around the Kaaba that caused for a wall, by the Kaaba to collapse. So one of the walls of the Kaaba collapsed and exposed the insides of the Kaaba. Right, and the stones were wearing down, and so on. Right, so the people came together and to decide they were discussing, and they said this happened 5 years before Nubuwah, right, before revelation. So they discussed and they said, we need to do something about this. Right? Our Kaaba is breaking down. And we need to build it up. And at first they said, could we fix it? Is it possible to be fixed? Then they said, no, it's so bad, right, that we need to break it down and build it back up again. Right? Tear the whole Kaaba down and rebuild it from new. Right? And so some of them said, are you crazy? Didn't you see what happened to Abraha and his army? Right? When they tried to destroy the Kaaba, the birds appeared and threw stones at them. Right? So, aren't you scared? Right? This might happen to us. You try to destroy the Kaaba. Then one of them was Walid bin Mughira. Walid bin Mughira is the father of Khalid bin Walid, right? And this man, he's a very intelligent man. He was very much honored in society, but he failed to enter into Islam, right? So this is Khalid bin Walid. He would cry sometimes, saying, "My father was so intelligent, right? And he used to look up to his father, but he just could not he could not bring himself low and embrace Islam. But he was one of the most respected people in society, but then he became an enemy of Islam, unfortunately. Right? So Walid bin Mughira, this man, right? So he said, okay, you know what? Allah knows we want goodness. Right? Allah knows we want to build it up. We're not trying to destroy it, but we want to just build it new. Right? So he said, okay, fine. I'm going to go to the Kaaba. I will knock off a stone. I will knock off my own hands. I'll knock off a stone. Right? Then we will leave it there for a night. If anything happens to me in the night, like some bala or some calamity comes to me, right, then okay, stop. Don't do anything to the Kaaba. Right? But if I get through the night safely and nothing happens to me, there's an indication that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed for us to do this. Right? So they went ahead and mashallah, he hit off a stone and it happened the next day. He was fine. Nothing happened to him. Right? So it's like an indication. Right, that Allah allows this. So they broke down the entire Kaaba that was built. The whole thing they broke down, right, down to an asas. They reached a foundation. Right, there was a stone foundation that when they tried to strike it, right, there was a spark that came out, and there was an indication they can't touch the foundations. They must leave it there. So they know exactly the size Nabi Ibrahim built the Kaaba. So the very foundations Nabi Ibrahim set, what he laid, they cannot go beyond that, right? So those were left. So they built upon those foundations, right? And so it so happened that in that time there was a shipwreck nearby, and they had bought the materials of the shipwreck to build up the Kaaba, and they ensured that only halal wealth was used, right? So even then, before Islam, they knew about halal and haram wealth. Because in Mecca there was prostitution, there was alcoholism, there was all kinds of haram going on in Mecca, the sale of idols, making of idols, and so on, right? Music and all that. So all the wealth from gambling, from all these kind of filthy activities, they refused to take, and they were non-Muslims on shirk, right? But they had a sense that we don't take wealth from usury, from riba, right? From interest. We don't take wealth from gambling, from prostitution, from alcohol, from whatever. They only took wealth that was pure to build the Kaaba, and it was fitrah, and there was a respect and honor for the Kaaba, that they only took wealth that was pure, and it was before Islam, mashallah. Subhanallah. But because of that, they didn't have enough wealth actually, right? So they only built the Kaaba up to where we see today, and then they built half a wall, and that became Hijr Ismail. So the Kaaba is that we see today is the whole Kaaba with the white side, the white thing at the side. This Hijr Ismail. So the original Kaaba was the entire thing. it was actually an elongated, like a cuboid, right? But now it became like a cube, right? And this part is exposed because the Quraysh didn't have enough money, right, to actually build it up. I actually just put like a half wall around it to show it's part of the Kaaba, right? But and when Rasulullah conquered Mecca thereafter and they had a lot of money, Rasulullah did not, change it. He left it as it was, showing that it is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's as if, like they put in effort to keep things clean, right? And I'll give them a hadiyah, like a gift. Okay, you're putting so much effort to keep the money clean for the Kaaba, I'll give you a portion of the Kaaba that anyone can enter at any time. Like Ismail, anybody can enter at any time. There's no lock, there's no door, there's no, like if not for that place, no one can pray in the Kaaba. So when you pray there, you're praying in the Kaaba. MashaAllah, it's from Allah's. This is Allah's gift that they were sincere, right, to keep it clean. And Allah gave them part of the Kaaba. MashaAllah. So up to today is for us to enter. Right. So what happened was that after they had completed the building of the Kaaba, and now it was time to place the black stone in its position. And there's a famous story of Rasulullah SAW. So the famous story, of course, they were up to arms about it. They were going to fight each other about it. Right? So that was the extent of it. Right? They had taken out their swords, right, to fight. Who had the right to put the black stone. They just done something so noble, so good, and now they're fighting. Right? So eventually one of them says, you know what, this is ridiculous, right? We just put the Kaaba, we're not going to go to war, right, for the black stone. So they say, okay, you know what, the first person to enter into the Masjid al-Haram tomorrow morning, he decides who has the right. Khalas, right? So they all agree. We agree, right? So of course in the morning, the first one to come through the door of Masjid al-Haram, right, is none other than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the first one. And when they saw him, this was a proof also of their love for him before revelation. It's a proof, right? When they saw him, they said, Radina bil Amin. Right, we are pleased with Al Amin, right, the one who is the most trustworthy person in Mecca to be our judge, right? So they called him, and he was 35 at this time, like 5 years before the revelation, right? And so we saw that you can see that even at this point in time, he has a position amongst the people. They know him, and they know his character, and they love him, and they exalt him. At 35 years old, 35 years old, he has a position amongst the people. I'm 35, inshallah. So it's like they need to actually imagine at a young age like that, right, to be well known for your good traits. MashaAllah, Rasulullah. So he found out the problem. Then he came up with a solution, the best solution, whereby he asked for a piece of cloth. It's a very well-known story. He asked for a piece of cloth. He placed the black stone in the middle. Right? Then he asked for each of the leaders of every tribe to carry a corner of the cloth, right? And they carried the cloth with the black stone in it, right, all the way to the place where the stone was. And then the one who is the real person who has the most right to put the black stone, who is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was the one who put the black stone in his position, and nobody noticed. No one realized that Bani Hashim did it. Because we're all fighting which tribe has the right to put the black stone. So they were all so happy they all got to carry the cloth. So we look at it, like they were being used. They were just carrying the cloth. They were all like servants carrying the cloth. And the only one who had the most right to do it is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, so he's the best person, right? So he he carried it with his blessed hands. He placed it there without any of them having any issues with it. Allah removed from their heart, any jealousy or any fighting or any, and no one even objected. Right? They were all so happy with it, mashallah. It was an amazing situation. So that day was marked, right, by the day whereby they finished building the Kaaba. And that very day, it was Rasul went back to his house and he found that his wife had given birth. Right? And there was Sayyidah Fatima az-Zahra, mashallah. And it was his 4th daughter. Right, in the Arab society, to get daughter after daughter after daughter, it was something that was shameful. Right? It was shameful in the society to have daughters out one after another. His first child was a son, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. First was a son, right? And then the son passed away after 2 years old. Al-Qasim, his first child was a son, Al-Qasim. Al-Qasim passed away after 2 years, right? And then daughter Zainab, then daughter Ruqayya, then daughter Kulthum, 3 daughters already, right? So when Sayyidah Khadija gave birth to her 4th daughter, right, she was delighted, right? Because most women in Mecca at the time, right, they will be so scared, right? If they gave birth to a 4th girl, right, they will have to face the rage of their husbands. And unfortunately, the men used to blame the woman. If the woman kept giving birth to girls, they kept blaming the woman, right? So most women in Mecca at the time, they will be frightened. They to the point, some of them, when they were pregnant, right, to this extent, they would, when they feel labor pains, they would go to the deserts and they would dig a hole. It's horrid. They would dig a hole and they would give birth into the hole. If it shows a boy, they bring it home. If it shows a girl, they bury there and then. Right there and then they bury. It's really like it's the evil of that society was so terrible to the point people were women, were cornered into doing this, right? Because she didn't want to have any love for this baby, in a sense, because it's more difficult when a child, you carry the child and you breastfeed the child and you bring up the child, and then they could reach a particular age. Some of them, the fathers will take the child and then bury the child alive, and that's painful for a lot of women, to the point whereby they would just do it. And before any attachment to this child, she sees a girl, khalas, bury, because she knows that the husband will not accept it. Subhanallah, just was to that extent, right? The society in Mecca, which is why, it's all these are proofs that human beings cannot be the judge of good and evil, because it became so twisted that to them it became chivalrous and manly to kill girls. It became to the extent something so foul and so evil. It became something that was praised. That's how human beings cannot be the judge of good and bad. Allah is the judge of what is good and what is bad. So in our zaman right now, with LGBT and so on, human beings are the judge. They say what's wrong is just love. Allah says it is wrong. Khalas. You don't know that it is wrong. You, from your own ideologies, you think that what's wrong? This loving each other, living together, and just being together, they're not hurting anyone. Our Creator says they are. Right? It's hurtful. Right? It's haram, and haram from harm. Harm from haram. Right? There is harm there. We don't understand it. Right? So we trust our Creator, Subhanahu wa Taala. Human beings cannot be a judge of good and evil. Right? This is what happened, mashallah. Sayyidah Khadija, when she gave birth to a 4th girl, right, she was so happy. Because she saw in the face of this girl, she looked exactly like her father, right? 100% like copy, a carbon copy, 100% like her father. Like it was said that Sayyidah Zainab, the 1st daughter, looked exactly like Khadija, her oldest one, like the mother. Ruqayya and Kulthum was a mix of the father and the mother. Kulthum and Ruqayya mix between Rasulullah and Sayyidah Khadija. Right, Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, exactly her father. Exactly like her father. Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. Right, so mashallah. So there was the day whereby the Kaaba was completed in its building. She was born. And so it is also said that, that when we say Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra is similar to her father, right, in this way as well. Because Rasulullah's birth was marked by the incident of Abraha. Right, the year of the elephants, the Isab Abraha, his birth year was marked, right, because this great incident happened and it was a miracle. And so Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, similar to her father, her birth year, or even her birthday, was marked by an incident to do with the Kaaba. So they both had an incident to do with the Kaaba, right, and their birth was marked by it. And the similarity in there, the similarity in Sayyidah Fatima and Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, so she was born, this is pure woman, this pure lady, Sayyidah Fatima Zahra, was born 5 years before Revelation, on the 20th of Jumad al-Akhirah. Right, we just passed that, in Tariq, mashallah. And on the day of Jumu'ah, it was on a Friday, right, the light of her face shone through, and we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alhamdulillah, wa subhanallah, wa la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. So when the Rasul came back from that incident, he saw his wife had given birth, right, and he saw the face of this girl, He was that his face shone so brightly in pleasure, in happiness. I had to see the faces of Fatima Zahra because she looked exactly like him. MashaAllah. And there is a secret in there. When someone looks exactly like someone else, right, they take the characteristics of that person. There is a truth of it. Like if a child looks a lot like the mother, tends to take the same traits of the mother. And look at the father, and it is the traits of the father. And there's a thing about it, mashallah. Rasulullah named her Fatima. The word Fatima means to wean off, it means to cut off, right? So because Allah has cut her, right, from the blazing fire. She's called Fatima because she's cut off from the blazing fire. And of her names is Mubarakah. And Mubarakah meaning the one who is blessed, and blessed hands. Was Zakiyah. Zakiyah meaning pure. The name of Sayyidah Fatima az-Zahra. So instead of, mashallah, in when you see Sayyidah Fatima, you can say Fatima az-Zahra, Fatima az-Zakiyah, Fatima al-Mubarakah, Fatima al-Radiyah, Fatima al-Mardiyah. Right, so you can even name people in this way. Fatima al-Batul. Right, you can even, if you want to name all your kids Fatima, and you have like a lot of girls, so you want to name all of them Fatima, then you can even go in this way, Fatima al-Zahra, al-Batul, al-Mubarakah, al-Zakiyah, al-Mardiyah, al-Radiyah, and you can go in there, so you can differentiate of your Fatimas right in the house. It's possible, mashallah. Al-Radiyah, the one who is pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and she's pleased with whatever Allah has given her. She does not want more, than what she has. Al-Mardiyah, the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pleases, who's pleasing to Allah. She is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Mardiyah. So obviously of her, of her beautiful names. Tusamma Zahra. She is called az-Zahra. And we mentioned Zahra means the shining star or resplendent. It is also similar to the word flower. Right? Zahra, the word flower is Zahra. Right? So it's because she is the flower of the best of creation without any doubt. And she's the flower of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She's been given the title Batul. وَلُقِبَتْ بِالْبَتُول. Is given the title of Batul. Batul from the tabattal, fatabattal, lahu tabatila. Tabattal, it means to seclude yourself and dedicate yourself to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? That is al-Batul. Right? So why is she called al-Batul? لِانْقِطَاعِهَا لِعِبَارَةِ فِيمَا تَفْعَلُ وَتَقُولُ. Because she has secluded herself, and placed herself and dedicated herself in worshipping, right, in her actions and in her words. In other words, she has secluded herself and dedicated herself in worshipping, in this way. فيما تفعل وتقول. That is al-Batul. And وَكَنَّاهَا الرَّسُولُ صلى الله عليه وسلم بِأُمِّ أَبِيهَا. So Ummi Abiha, so Kannaha here is the word kunya. So kunya in Arabic you will say so and so or Abu so and so. Right? So there is a way in Arabic. Right? So it's a way of formal speech and also a way of respect. Right? So if I know someone who's older than me, I won't call them by their name. But I'll say Abu Fulan or Fulan and so on. It's a way of saying Mr. In Arabic. In English, you say Mr. So and so, Madam so and so, Mr. so and so. It's respect. It's basically respect. So for Sayyidah Fatima az-Zahra, mashallah, her kunya is Ummu Abiha. Ummu Abiha, that means the mother of her father. Mashallah. There's the highest form of kunya because her father is the best human being. Her father is the best human being. So to be the mother of her father, she is connected to her father. Mashallah. And there is one thing that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he himself did in a sense, whereby when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him, would you want to be a prophet who is a king or a prophet who is a slave? And the Rasulullah, do you want to be a king or a slave? And be poor or rich? And the Rasulullah said, I want to be a prophet who is a slave. Because the word Abd can be placed to the word Allah. You say Abdullah. right? Slave of Allah. But the word king can't be placed with the word Allah. Right? I can't put the word king and the word Allah next to each other. It becomes the king of Allah. They cannot be. Right? So he chose Abd because he wants his name to be next to Allah's name. Abdullah. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. So it's the same thing in a sense, similar. Right? But he wants to be to be connected to be attached to be related to. So he wants to be Abdullah. I have Allah's name, with his title. And his title is Abd, slave, his title. Right? So for her title is the mother, but to be connected to Prophet ﷺ, the mother of her father, in that way, mashallah. So, mashallah, all these very beautiful things, they come together. So she's given the title of mother of her father, لِمَا كَانَ يَجِدُ عِنْدَهَا مِنْ حَنَانٍ وَعَطْفٍ أُوضِعَ فِيهَا, because she had the gentleness and the softness that a mother has for her son. And she used to treat her father like how a mother would treat her son, in the gentleness and love and so on, mashallah. And you think about it, mashallah, a lot of times, like we were just talking about it, that children don't have, don't treat their parents the way parents treat their children. Right, it's just the way it is. Right, the way parents would sacrifice for their children, the way parents would do whatever it takes to keep their children happy, how parents would really go all out for their kids. Right, the other way around is very rare. To even meet the level of the parents. Right, so children, they obey their parents and but you don't find that for majority children, they will not go all out to make their parents happy, but they're living their lives. Mashallah, living their lives. Parents, their lives revolve around their children. For children, very rare that there are those whose lives revolve around their parents. It's always like mashallah in that way. So Sayyidah Fatima Az-Zahra, while being a daughter, her life revolved around Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, like how a mother, her life revolves around her children. Mashallah. So you can see in that way, mashallah, that she took on like a love that a mother has. And the mother's love is always more than the daughter's love. So as a daughter, she loves him like a mother. Mashallah. That brings you on a higher level, mashallah, it's a higher level.
Is Al-Batu, that means it has two meanings. One is the flower and one is the shining star.
No, Zahra. Zahra has two meanings.
The Zahra has two meanings.
Yes.
That means,
Zahra with a Hamza is shining star. Or resplendent. Zahra with a ta marbuta, flower. So different spelling. But same root word. Zahra. Zahra, same root word. Right, mashallah, mashallah. Nasha'at fi bayt an-nubuwah. She grew up in the household in the prophetic household. Ma'adin al-ilmi wa sharafi wal futuwa. It is the source of knowledge and nobility and fatwa. And so all of the laws of Islam came from this household that she grew up in. So we know that she was 5 years old when the revelation came. So she was there to witness the entire revelation from start to end. So Sayyidah Fatima Zahra had that unique for her. She lived through revelation. Start to end until the death of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. She lived for 6 more months and then she passed away. Another woman, you can say, that lived through the life of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, only one person, and that is Sayyidah Barakah. Sayyidah Barakah is the only person to have witnessed the entire lifespan of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Because she was a young girl, but a teenager, 14 or 13 years old, at the birth of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and she lived past his death. She lived past his death, mashallah. And it was, I think she passed away, if I'm not wrong, in the time of Sayyidina Umar. Mashallah. Sayyidina Umar, she passed away. So her life is really basically, her entire life encompassed the life of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Mashallah, from his birth to his death. And she was there to see everything. Mashallah. Allah give her very long life. Mashallah. I have a poem that I wrote for her. Because she was very much beloved, to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he would say, Barakah ummi ba'da ummi. Barakah is my mother after my mother. She's one companion that most people don't really pay attention to her. Right? But she's there the entire time, Right? From beginning to end, she was there. Right? And she was witnessed everything. How, like, really barakah lah, she's so blessed. Like, how lucky, right, to witness the birth, to witness the marriage of his parents. She witnessed it. She was there when they got married. She was there when the mother was pregnant and the father passed away. She was there when the mother passed away. She witnessed it. She was the one who brought Nabi Muhammad SAW back to Mecca after his mother passed away, in the deserts. She was there watching him grow up. Right? She was there the entire time. And then she was there when he got married. She was there. If he set her free, she didn't stay away from him. She kept coming back. MashaAllah. She's the one. Rasul said, if anyone wants to see a woman of paradise, then look at Barakah, Ayman, a woman of paradise. MashaAllah. All the way. She was there for every death of his children, of his sons and his daughters. She was there, right, to be there with him and to be there for him. So she was the mother that's throughout the entire time. Sayyidah Barakah, MashaAllah. Right, MashaAllah. Sayyidah Fatima Zahra witnessed the entire revelation. So from the beginning of Revelation to the end of Revelation, she witnessed it. Sayyidah Barakah witnessed the entire lifespan, of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. MashaAllah. But she is an old Abyssinian woman. She's an Abyssinian woman. She came to Mecca when she was a very young girl as a slave. MashaAllah. I do wonder, like, in back in those days, how did they bring Abyssinians to? Did they just go there and just kidnap people? I used to wonder, like, how did it, because we know that slaves become slaves either by war, right? By war, and they're taken as captives.
Yeah.
But a lot of the slaves in Mecca and also around the world are Africans. So I'm wondering, like, do people just go there and just kidnap these people and bring them into slavery? You wonder, right? How did they end up in slavery? MashaAllah. But MashaAllah, but for Sayyidah Barakah, how lucky, right, that she came into slavery, but in the hands of Abdul Muttalib. And then Abdul Muttalib gifted her to his son Abdullah. Then she became an inheritance for Rasulullah because she was a slave girl. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. For me, I have a very strong love for Sayyidah Barakah. I say, okay, talk about her. MashaAllah. So when the Rasulullah, so in the household of Rasulullah, where he would leave in the day and come back in the evening, and the angels and Jibreel would come and descend in this blessed household of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Fatima az-Zahra witnessed, right, all of that. She grew up in this household of virtue, on the best character and the most beautiful characteristics that was around her. And how not? So she grew up on the best character, and how not? When she is a graduate of the madrasa, of the best of creation, without exception. Yes, MashaAllah, a graduate. So she and Sayyidina Ali are known to be graduates of the madrasa of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he, in his own home, he nurtured them. So Sayyidina Ali was on the same, training of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidah Fatima az-Zahra on the same training of Rasulullah. So when they married, they were exactly on the same mindset as husband and wife, MashaAllah. So which is why they could easily give out in their wealth, they could easily, be of service to Rasulullah. They could, because for them, he is their father, MashaAllah, and he trained them, on their great character. He will mention the characteristics of Sayyidah Fatima az-Zahra, right? So MashaAllah, the one that Allah, and he is.
It's run out of.
MashaAllah. Right, so they grew up in this great household of high character, and he is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the one that Allah has sent to perfect noble character. This is something that we will see over and over again, that we ask ourselves, what did Rasulullah teach us? Right, the main thing he taught us is character, right? Good akhlaq, good character. Right, so when someone is a graduate of the school of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what did they graduate with? They graduated with good character. Unlike our zaman now, people have knowledge, they go through university, they go through all kinds of schooling, and they come up with no character. I know akhlaq, nothing. But whereas what makes a person educated is basically their character. That the good character is a sign of education. But in our zaman, in our time, like they can have the highest diploma or the highest degree or the highest masters or PhD or doctorate or whatsoever, and have the worst character. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. So, but education is by character. The more educated someone is, the better the character should be. But it's in the definition of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right. So here he mentions now about the characteristics that she had. Right. So of the characteristics that she learned from him is sidq. Right. Sidq is the first one, which is truthfulness. Sayyidah Aisha mentioned that she has not seen anyone more truthful than Fatima except her father. MashaAllah. Sayyidah Aisha said that she has not seen anyone more truthful than Fatima except her father. And Sayyidah Fatima Zahra, she took on this trait of as-siddiqah, the one who is always truthful. Wal amana, so amana, having trustworthiness. So amana has two dimensions to its meaning. The first dimension is trustworthiness in when someone gives you something to look after, you have the amana. Right, and you look after the trust and you give it back. The other meaning of amana, right, it means someone who does not perform sins at all. It's the meaning of amana, right? So the prophets have amana, right? So, and why is it called amana? Because Allah gave them the sharia. So if they took on the sharia and they disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that would be treachery against the sharia. They'll be betraying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like if you see an authority, for example, a policeman. So the country has a law. If the policeman goes against the law of the country, you would say this policeman is betraying his badge. Right? He has a badge, he has a position, right? So he's supposed to be obedient to those of the country. If he goes against it, that's betrayal. Right? Treachery. So Prophet is the same thing. Right? Allah gave them sharia, right? They are to obey the sharia. And for Prophet said that, so the Fatima Zahra also had that. Right? So she is of full obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not a moment of disobedience against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in fact, Rasulullah raised her so high in her ranking that even things that were permissible, right, she wouldn't even do it. Things like that when her husband gave her some gold jewelry. From her husband, mashallah. There's a woman, you wear it, your husband bought for you, jewelry. She came to the Prophet Rasulullah, he saw the gold on her hands, he looked away. Immediately she knew why. Right? The family of the Prophet doesn't carry wealth. So she went out, she took it off, she went to the marketplace, she sold it. Right? And with the money, she bought a slave boy and then she set him free. And that is the character of the family of Rasulullah. They don't keep. So even something as you say is permissible. Yeah, your husband bought for you a bangle or a chain or a necklace. How many women would be able to sell that? It's precious, right? So my husband bought for me. And you're not asked to sell it. You can keep it. It's yours. Right? But he placed her on a higher level. The family has nothing. They don't hold on to anything. Mashallah. And Sayyidina Ali being in the same, because I was wondering, Sayyidina Ali, wouldn't he get upset? Because he was my husband. I think he'll get upset if I sold what he bought for me. But Sayyidina Ali is trained in the same household. Sayyidina Ali had understood, right? The family cannot keep anything. They give out everything. But I know that for us, for me, I know, if let's say, if anyone, in fact, like if it was my mother or my mother-in-law, if she bought me a bangle, if I dare sell it, I would not sell it. She'd be like, where's the bangle I gave you? Oh. No, you have to have it, mashallah. Mashallah, this is a different society. Mashallah. But Sayyidah Fatima Zahra, because Sayyidina Ali is on the same mentality, same mindset. Right? That it is meant for the poor, right? To free a slave. MashaAllah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Now, either is under an iffa meaning iffa has a meaning of dignity or chastity. Iffa. Right. So the way iffa is used is that when someone is in need, the one who is afif would not ask for help. Right. The one with iffa, who is an afif, they won't ask for help when they are in need. So dignity about it. They can be in complete poverty, right? They can be suffering, mashallah, but they will not ask. They won't. It's an iffa. Right, so mashallah, so Fatima Zahra was like that. Right, there was once Rasulullah saw Sayyidina Al-Hasan and Al-Hussein. They were walking and they kept stumbling. And it was a sign of severe hunger. Severe hunger. Because she won't ask. They won't ask. And even when Sayyidina Ali said to her, ask your father for a helper. Your hands are bleeding, your hands are blistering and so on. Ask your father, he has some prisoners of war. You can ask one as a helper. And she got so shy to ask anything. So the story comes later on. She goes to the house of Rasulullah and then he says, why have you come, my daughter? And she just says, to give salams to you. And she walks off without asking anything. That's iffa, right? Inability to ask, when they are in need, they can't ask. MashaAllah. Sayyidina Ali brings her there. He said, I'm going to go there with you. We're going to ask for something. MashaAllah. But she was so shy in front of her father, having never asked for anything from him. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya Allah. There's iffa. Well, siyana meaning protected from sin, and siyana, she is protected from sin. She does not see sin. She does not hear sin. Does not do sin. Does not speak sin. Nothing of sin is around her. MashaAllah. So there is one of the Hababa saying Darim, whereby till her old age, that she had very sharp eyesight. She had very sharp hearing. She was MashaAllah. Her faculties were all top great faculties. And when they ask her, the Hababa, you're so old, but you can see so clearly, you can hear so clearly, you can you can speak clearly. And Hababa said that we protected our limbs for Allah and Allah preserved it for us. Right, meaning that she never did anything haram with all of these limbs. So her whole life she protected it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah preserved it for them. And it will be sharp to the end of their lives, inshallah. Allah. تعلمت منه القرآن والحكمة. She learned directly from the Prophet Quran and the Sunnah. والرفقة والرحمة, and compassion and mercy. She had that, compassion and mercy. وتواضع والعلم, and humility and knowledge. والصبر والحلم, and patience and forbearance. So all of these traits are traits of Fatima Zahra they got from her father. طبعت على أخلاق رضية. Right, so she has a character. She has a natural personality that was pleasing. Her akhlaq was pleasing. وشمائل النبوية, and the characteristics of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. أخلاق محمدية, the akhlaq of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. MashaAllah. So however you hear of Rasulullah, that is how Sayyidah Fatima Zahra is. So when you hear that he is so warm and friendly and always smiling, she was like that. When you hear that he would care for the weak and the poor, she was like that. When you hear that he would prefer everybody above himself, she was like that. Right? So everything you hear about the Prophet ﷺ, Sayyidah Fatima Zahra was like that. Right? Exactly. MashaAllah. أولاها ربها من الخيرات ما أولاها رضي الله عنها وأرضاها. So Allah has preferred her, above all goodness, Allah has preferred her above all, people of goodness, and Allah has preferred her, mashallah, the highest of the highest woman. What is that? Any forbearance, helm. So for forbearance, right, the word helm, forbearance, has a meaning that the worse someone treats you, the better you are to them. That's the meaning of forbearance. Right? So forbearance is the worse someone treats you, the better you are to them. Right? So Rasulullah SAW, the example I gave the other day during the Aqidah, right? Whereby a Jewish man, right, lent him some food, right, and then eventually the man was horrid to him. But Rasulullah SAW showed goodness to the man. The story that I told the day on during Aqidah. So forbearance has that trait, right? So it's something that is prophetic, right? Because for most human beings, it's easy to be good to those who are good to you. That's normal, right? Even bad human beings are like that. Right? Those who are good to you, you're good to them. Right? It's easy. It's not exceptional, right? But it is difficult to be good to those who treat you bad, right? They treat you badly. It's difficult to be good to those who treat you badly, mashallah. So forbearance is on that side, right? That you are not only do you take their bad behavior, right? But you give them the best of your behavior, mashallah. So Fatima Zahra, she had that. No matter how she was, no matter what it was, that she would give the best of her behavior, right, to those who were, evil to her, mashallah. But alhamdulillah, Allah protected her.
But what was the Arabic in forbearance? Because in Indonesian language.
Hilm.
Oh, the hilm. Oh.
Hilm. Well, that's Indonesian. Hilm. So that tawadu wal ilm was sabra wal hilm.
Oh, kelembutan.
Kelembutan, maybe.
Yeah.
Gentleness.
Gentleness.
But it's above that in a sense, it is towards those who are harsh to you. So it's hilm. It's a very difficult trait to have. So it's very hard when someone slanders you, or someone insults you, or someone's cold towards you, to actually be warm with them, to actually love them. It's very hard on the nafs.
At best you ignore it.
Yeah. The best you could do is to not retaliate. Okay, I'm just gonna walk away, right? But to actually, go above and beyond, and to be friendly. And to be good and to be nice to them, that takes a lot from a person. So prophets are like that. Right? For me also, it's so hard. Right? Because your heart, you carry something. Right? You have this pleasure, you're upset, you're hurt, whatever it is, So the most, I'm not going to hurt them, right? But I'm not going to be friends with them. In the sense, you go that way, right? You won't hurt them. I won't hurt them. I won't slander. I won't backbite. I won't, do whatever. But can I just keep out of their way? Just avoid them. Avoid them. Mashallah. That is minimum. That's minimum. And you can do that in a sense. But ihsan, excellence calls for friendship. And so hard. Especially those who hurt your family, they hurt your parents, they hurt your, those who hurt. And the worst is when they slander. It's the stop between people, and that's the most painful thing to happen to a family. And so I think all of us have had this kind of experiences whereby they hurt your direct families, right? Oh, ya Allah. But to be nice to them, it takes a lot. So Fatima Zahra had that. Nabi Muhammad SAW also had that. Right? He had that. It's a high standard. If you want to follow, it's a high standard. But that is what changes people. When you show goodness to them and they are evil to you, that's what changes them. MashaAllah. رضي الله عن فاطمة الزهراء وأرضاها وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وأزكى صلاة وأنماها اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله. Okay, so inshallah tomorrow we'll do number 3. We are on track, I think. Yeah, we're on track. So 1 chapter per lesson. So we can finish this book, inshallah. Don't have any questions?
I remember Ustaz that, so mashallah, like if you read the story of Rasulullah and Sayyidah Fatima Az-Zahra, especially Sayyidah Fatima Az-Zahra, she never even tastes this richness or dunya or anything. I wonder, is it like dunya and the akhirat like the opposite? Like if you laugh a lot in the dunya, you will cry a lot in the akhirat, and if you gain more in the dunya, you will gain less in that.
It's the opposite, yes. It's the opposite. But of course, it is said that whosoever leaves of this dunya, they will get it in the akhirat. You'll get it in the akhirat. right? So mashallah. But also it has to do a lot with what is in your heart. Because zuhud, right, which is to break off from this dunya, is in the heart, right? So Sayyidah Fatimah Zahra, she had both, right? In her hands, no dunya; in her heart, no dunya. There are of the awliya, right? They have dunya in their hands, but not in their heart. And there are of people, they have no dunya in their hands, but it's all in the heart. Sayyidah Fatimah Zahra was both, not in her hands, not in her heart. Mashallah. So mashallah, it's really when Allah gives us all this wealth and everything, right? And for us to just not have it in our heart, it's a struggle. Mashallah. Yeah, it's a test, mashallah. To not have it in the heart, it's difficult to have it in your hands and not in your heart, right? Mashallah. May Allah make it easy for us. Ya Allah, mashallah. And we always ask Allah, Ya Allah, as long as He gives us in this dunya, give us more in the akhirah. Right? Don't let this dunya be, it for us. And there was one of the companions, Sayyid Abdul Rahman bin Auf. Because of the Rasul's dua for him, he was always very wealthy. To the point he would cry and he would say that I'm afraid that all of the goodness for me came in this world. And nothing left in the hereafter. He would say that way. Subhanallah. So they would cry, they would worry. There's so much wealth, so much, Ya Allah, what's in the next world? So inshallah, we do our best in our charity, in our spending our wealth in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, putting intentions, not going for luxury. For the Muslim, there's a hadith whereby the Muslim is not someone of luxury. Yeah, there's a hadith the Muslim is not someone of luxury. Right? So sometimes you need to question, like when people go for luxury and in my country, I'm sure in the West, they have these things all called staycations, and I don't know if you all have it. In Singapore, staycation, especially during the COVID, because nobody could travel, right? So they began to go for like 5-star hotels, really posh, high-end living, and then spend I think 500 a night or 600 a night USD, just for luxury. Whereas a bit is a bit wherever you go, and food are food wherever you go. But spending that kind of money, just for the luxury, it is something in our zaman.
Yes,
it's like a disease. It's happening. It's everywhere. People are running after they say that once in a while go on a cruise, a 5-star cruise, and they spend in the thousands, the kind of money. Whereas the Muslim, like Sayyidah Fatimah Zahra, Rasulullah never have any interest, no desire for this. Wherever they go, it's for da'wah, it is for work, it is for family, it's for. Never do you want to try out like a 7-star hotel? Now they have 7-star hotels. Try out like a buffet that costs a few $100, so just for a buffet.
And normally it's not halal, I think.
Yeah, a lot of non-halal stuff around. You don't even know whether it's halal. All for your stomach. It's like mashallah. So for us, in the zaman, like for us to stay away from it lah. Mashallah. InsyaAllah. Okay dah, Fatihah.
إلى حضرة النبي صلى الله عليه
وسلم. الفاتحة.
بسم الله.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.